Hey everyone, just wanted to take a moment to just say thank you so much for all of the support. And to all the new listeners, welcome to New to Medical Device Sales and First Year In. We are just so excited to have you. I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart because without you all, this wouldn't be possible. And just so grateful to be a part of all of your journeys and being able to help you all break into medical device sales. If you guys don't have a LinkedIn, you're definitely going to need one. So make sure to add me at Jacob McLaughlin or New to Medical Device Sales. Always love helping you all break into medical device sales and always happy to connect. But if you guys have any questions or are interested in breaking into medical device sales, you guys can feel free to reach out to us or click the link below. But let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and today I'm coming to you all from Venice, Italy. Switching it up a little bit, we are here in Italy. We have a hotel right by the canal, as you can see. Took myself on a little bit of a holiday. I haven't been able to take one since making the full transition, so wanted to make sure that I just went and took a trip. Just wanted to continue to provide value. The one thing I'm excited for you all to do is we have a new series called Helping People Break into Medical Device Sales, a day in the life of helping people break into medical device sales. So we have tracked this whole journey while I've been over in Europe, been getting on calls for our office hours at midnight, staying up till 2 a.m. my current time, which is about 9 hours ahead of Arizona. Just making sure we're getting people hired. We still have gotten a bunch of people hired, like you saw in the intro, like Keelan, shout out, 24 years old, over 6 figures with BD. We got Ben, just got the call today. He came in at over 6 figures. He was a basketball coach, was in 7 interview processes with our course and our program. So just an absolute rock star, and a lot of other people going through third, fourth, final rounds, and it's been a lot of fun. So just feel so forever grateful and thankful. And I'm really excited to just come to you all today because every time I take these trips, I plan these trips very strategically on making sure that I have downtime because I'm someone who's very much of a go-getter, someone who wants to continue to grow. And I do a really bad job at rest, at relaxing, at being present, at being in the moment, at just appreciating life and where it's gone to where it's at. And so, that's what I wanted to make today's podcast about, is just encouragement for you all to show you where the life you can go. And this trip, I've been able to go to places like Cannes, France, Saint-Tropez. We went to Portofino, Milan, just got to see a lot of cool places over here in Italy. And what I love about it is it makes you think different. And that's what I wanted to talk to you all about in medical device sales today, is thinking different. I think one of the best things you could ever do is go travel and go somewhere that you're not used to being. That could still be in the United States. But what I watch so many people do is they stay in their bubble. And they even do this in medical device sales. And I can sit here and tell you why I was able to have a lot of success in medical device sales is because I was always changing, I was always leveling up, and I was always getting out of my normal environment. And that was the main reason I jumped in with Innovis, is because they were based out of the UK. I knew I was going to have travel with them. I got to go to training in Manchester. And then it opened up my life to, got to travel to Greece for work, went to UK multiple times. And then I started meeting people from all over the world. And it just let me see the world differently. And so the reason I'm telling you all this and how this relates to medical device sales is it's exactly what we do in our program. It's exactly what we do with you all to just have you guys think different. Is if you are just thinking about medical device sales as every other job, it's going to be a struggle. If you think about it as, oh, I'm just going to go put my interview session on, I'm going to go and just put an application in, hopefully get an interview or two, see where it takes me, maybe reach out to a recruiter, you're going to be really disappointed, you're going to be really frustrated, and you're going to go through a lot of struggles because that's just not this industry. This industry is really hard. This industry is just a different beast, and it's different to conquer. But once you get inside of it, you learn the game, learn how to play the game to win the game. It can be one of the most rewarding industries in the world. This industry literally changed my life, and it's why we're doing what we're doing now. Is like Keelan, who we just brought up. We will have her on the podcast, but again, she now makes over double the income. She's only 24 years old, or 23. I can't even remember. It's a 23, 24. So she's just just a stud to come in. She put in the work. It took a little bit longer than normal, but she didn't give up. And now she's making 6 figures with BD. So it's just a fun opportunity to continue to watch. And what happens with those people? And let me just tell you guys, what we continue to talk about is the maturity in this process. What most people aren't ready for is what we've spoke about before, is to get a job for $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, right? They think, oh, once I have the money, it will change. But the reality of it is it's the mindset that comes so you can have the money. And that's one thing I remember reading my books. I used to be so frustrated when it was like, oh, I give you $100,000 right now, you're not ready for it. And I'm like, I am ready for it. What are you talking about? I know I'm ready for it. And then as I've got into med device sales, I've continued to scale businesses and do things. It's the honest truth is that it's all up here. And that's why I love taking these trips, is because it makes you think different. Even when I was just walking along the coast, you see like yachts. And I'm like looking them up. And like, for example, there was a yacht that's like $30 million. And I'm like, what do you even do to buy a yacht that's worth $30 million? Because that's not your car, that's not your anything, that's just that. And then you're paying a whole crew. So it just made me start thinking different, because I'm not used to seeing that in Arizona, as we have 0 yachts, right? But the reason I'm saying that is, again, continuing to have you guys think different. So I wanted to make an episode today about thinking different in medical device sales, not only to help you in med device sales, but also help you in your career of medical device sales, because that's what this is all about. Now, the one thing I want to just start off with is there's always going to be people who say, oh, you can't do it this way. There's always going to be people who are the haters, whatever it is, to just thinking different. And so when it comes to thinking different, not only in medical device sales, but in your career, it's what I really wanted to go over today. So when we're talking about thinking different in medical device sales, the number one thing you have to just fully understand is this is not like any other industry you've ever been around. This is not just be putting out some applications. It's not just talking to a couple people and just being nice. It's how are you standing out when there's 500 to 700 applicants, right? What are you doing? And we just talked about with the people we just got hired. I was on some phone calls while I'm over here, and it's, literally Ben saying it. He's like, man, what you've always said, do the job to get the job. It's everything. But what most people don't even know is, what does that mean, right? And so it's just being able to learn that processing, because we'll say networking. I say it all the time, and I'll get on calls with people who are like, I'm networking. I'm like, great, but are you networking correctly? Are people calling you back? Are people actually getting your information, sending it to hiring managers, other reps? Are they sending it to recruiters on your behalf? Are they doing it because they want to, or are they just doing it because they're going to get a kickback because they have a referral fee, which, if you guys didn't know, a lot of times a person can put you up. If you get hired, they'll get like $1,000 or $2,000 because the company's like, oh, thanks, you helped us find this person, and you can see where it goes. So the reason I'm just saying that is most people don't even know about that, and that's why you guys will get on calls with reps, and they'll just be like talking to you for 2 or 3 minutes. They'll be like, yeah, if you see anything that you like, just here, use my link and put me down as a referral, right? And you guys all think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I just got somebody to give me a referral and it's going, and this person doesn't really care. Really, the referral that they just gave you is not going to really do anything, because you're just going to type it on the website. They're just having you put it. So if you end up doing the work and getting hired, they're just going to be able to get some bonus money off of it, right? So there's like things to just be aware of. But that's number one, is you just have to think different when you're trying to go in this industry. So first off, again, you've got to think different. This is not like any other job. Number two, you really got to be willing to put in the work. So the thing I always want you all to know is, everyone will tell me they're a hard worker. Everybody will tell me that they're going to come in and they're going to crush it and they're going to just all these things. But it's like they don't even know what to do, right? And it's always hysterical as we go through this process, is there's going to be all these people who tell me, like the most common thing I hear when I get on calls with people is they're like, Jacob, I've been doing this for a while. I can't break in, but this is all that I need. And I'm like, great, but that's not true at all, because if that's all you needed, you would have fixed it by now and you would be hired. It's me going to a doctor and saying, hey doc, I already WebMD'd it. These are my symptoms. This is what it is, right? And if that was the case, then why am I at the doctors, right? Like that's the thing that people miss. There's so many things that people miss throughout this process. And it is exactly that. It's a process of the hard work, right? I always explain this because we get some people that we have some former professional athletes in our program. And the one thing I always just talk to them about, especially when we get a lot of baseball players, the one thing I always talk to them about is you don't go from the minor leagues to the major leagues because you had one good game. You had a whole great season, which led you to get pulled up by the majors, right? And that's the same thing with medical device sales when you're going through this journey. Most people are thinking, hey, I just have to nail one interview. I just have to have one great interview and I crushed it, or one good conversation and I'll have the job. And that's not the truth. This is, like we always say, like 6 to 12 weeks. A lot of times we see it, we can speed it up. Our average person gets in around 8 weeks. But like there's a lot of times for 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks, you're just being constant. It's what are you doing throughout that whole time? It's every single day you're doing something that's leading to you getting hired in medical device sales. And I think that's what a lot of people miss, is so many people will be like, oh no, I'm going to a third round. This is all I need, and then I'll have it. And it's like, no, you're just doing a panel interview. You still got to go do one more interview and then meet with the VP, right? And so like there's all these sections that people think they know, but they actually don't know. And that can be the challenge. My encouragement to you all is continue to network with people, but making sure that you're doing it the right way. Again, what I can always sit here and tell you all is just make sure you're coming to learn. Everybody will get on calls and then they try to prove themselves. But it's the person who's listening. It's the person who's being able to take notes. It's the person who's being able to recall things they said earlier in the conversation. And now they're being able to be like, oh, when you said this, I actually had blah, 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 and you had some thoughts on it, right? Or you met somebody or you networked with somebody already who knew the exact same thing. So I think that's the big thing I want you all to think about. I get on calls with people who are trying to like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And they're trying to prove themselves the whole time, which again, don't get me wrong, there's a piece of that has to come in that they have to be like, oh, this person's on top of it. But what they really want to know is, are you willing to learn? How do you handle yourself? Can you hold a conversation? Are you pleasant to be with on the call, right? And like the thing I'll just sit here and say is, our A players always come. As you know, I saw a quote, and the quote was, I've never not had an A player not perform on the first day. Just like I've never had somebody who wasn't an A player turn into an A player. And I think that goes a long way, right? Like for Ben, who he will be here on the podcast, when I got on a call with him, you know, when he was first going through the process, he was looking at a job for like $50,000 or $60,000. And by me getting on a call with him, I was like, man, you have it. Like I can get you hired at over six figures, not a problem. And he's like, oh, you serious? You think so? And it took him over a week. He talked to a bunch of people before he ended up joining our program. And then now he's been in 7 interview processes, and he just landed a job at over six figures, right? And it's just being able to believe in them and being able to see that in them. But on that call, he wasn't trying to be like, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. He just came very prepared. He was very easy to talk to. He had his ducks in a row. You could tell he was taking notes. Like he asked very good questions to show that he had done his research. It wasn't just like, hey, I just got on a phone call and it's random. That's really the difference, just so you guys know, between the difference of you maybe getting in at a job after a while at $50,000, $60,000 and you getting in at a job at over six figures, because of the prepared. And what we talk about and we teach inside of our program, and one of the conversations I just had in our office hours is, when people ask me, Jacob, how do you get people hired at over six figures? It's really a simple concept, and this is what I can tell you all. So hopefully this is extremely helpful for you all. The difference I see with the people we get hired at over six figures compared to the people who get hired at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 offers, you know, our average person comes in around $94,000, but like again, we've had people get offers at 50, 60K, and I'm like, we ain't taking a $50,000 offer. That doesn't make any sense, right? But the reason I'm just sitting here saying that is, what I see between those people who get these offers down here and the people who end up taking the offers up here at, you know, 90, 100, 110 plus $1,000 when they're on the peer level. So what I mean by that is, many of you, when you call a rep or a manager, you're asking questions of like, what do you do? What's the day of like an associate look like? Can you tell me a little bit about your job? So you're asking very simplistic questions by, if you talking to other associates or you talking to other reps, you would know that information, but you all will ask those to like the reps or the actual managers. And then right away, these people will think of you down here, not in a bad way of that you're a bad person, but they're like, this person isn't, you know, ready to crush it, compared to, you know, like when we've gotten people hired at over six figures right away, starting out full line rep roles. It's because they'll do their research. And for example, they might go talk to a bunch of associates and clinicals before they ever go talk to the rep, right? The TM. And then they'll talk to them, learn all the information, then they'll go talk to the RM. So when they're having these conversations, they're actually talking peer. What I mean by that, they're talking about the products, they're talking about the competitors, they're talking about the territory, they're talking about some of the trends in the industry. Like they're actually being able to contribute to a conversation instead of just coming in and asking questions. So then when they're talking to the rep or the manager, that manager or that rep actually looks at them and says, wow, I might have actually learned something, or this person was on the same wavelength. By even just using language as like ASR, another TM, or stuff like that, it just shows. Compared to, you know, I get on calls every day and it will be like, I think I talked to an associate, and I'm like, ASR? And they're like, yeah, I think so. And it's like, yeah, no problem, right? But again, those are the little things that if you're like, hey, spoke to an ASR out of here, or I talked to an associate. They gave me the recommendation to go talk to Johnny, who is the TM out of Atlanta. And then you can see how the language just differs, and then it just shows kind of like the preparation. And so that's the biggest thing, right? The people we get hired through the six figures or above the six-figure mark it's always the same thing of the fact of the preparation super high. They're on that same wavelength where it's like, hey, we could see this person actually running a territory, even though they don't have the previous sales experience, and they're able to actually elevate them and go through that process. That's something that goes, but then every step of the way, we have preparation there. And so one of the things that's very easy to see is so many people want to come and give it all on the first date, right? And so we always bring it back to dating, because when I bring it to dating, most of you are like, oh, this makes sense, right? But like what I mean by that is, you know, like one of our ladies who are right now going for a full line rep role, 6 figures, it's super exciting. She would get to these interview processes, but where she would get in trouble is she would come in first or second interview and blow them away. But the problem was that she shot at all the first shot, right? Like here all is, right? And that's the problem, is because then there's nothing new. But compared to if you just come out every single time and you, wow, I can't believe she did this. I can't believe he did that. They just keep coming, right? So let me bring it back to dating. It's the equivalent of you go out on a first date, and we always make the joke of like, hey, you know, you meet somebody, first 5 minutes, you're drinking your coffee or your cappuccino. As I'm in Italy, I had to get my cappuccino to get me going. You'll get your cappuccino in the first 5 minutes. You're like, oh, so tell me where you want to be at in 5 years. And then they start talking and you're like, oh, that's great. So here's the house I think we're going to have. Here's the kids that we have, right? And they'll be like, whoa, too much. Everyone's like, oh, I'm going to bring my 30, 60, 90 day plan. And I'm like, on the first date, that's what you do once you're hired, right? Like that's what you're showing is what I'm doing in the first 30, 60, 90 days. You don't even know if you're in the interview process, right? You got a first date. You got a first interview with the manager, right? That's too soon, right? It's too stalkerish, right? And so the reason is that going back to, if you don't know the process, this is where you all can get in trouble. Because so many people I talk to, they're like, yeah, I did what you said. I brought my 30, 60, 90 day plan and I brought it on our very first meeting. I'm like, well, I tell you guys to bring the 30, 60, 90 day plan, but it's when you bring it out. It's not the first meeting, because that's the equivalent of talking about kids on a first date. And they're like, what the heck? You're not even in the running, right? So it's just about the timing. Now, how we talk about that is like, for example, if you're going in the interview process, come prepared, know some things about the notes, and don't invest too heavily in the first interview. What do I mean by that? Doesn't mean you don't do your work. It doesn't mean you don't do your research. It doesn't mean you don't do all the things prepped for it, but you're not coming in and smothering them. You're coming in, you're dressed professional. You're going to carry yourself very professionally. You're going to come with really good questions. And it's just a coffee date. You're just seeing if you get along with the manager, right? If you guys vibe together is the best way I can say. And hey, do we see this moving forward? Then guess what? If it does, then you go to the second and third round. But a lot of the mistakes I see is people will be like, I got an interview, I got a first round, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And then they go spend 17 hours studying it. And it's like, that's the equivalent of you guys being on a dating app. You met someone cute, they're like, let's get coffee. And you're like, oh my gosh, I think this is it. I guess we're going to be married, because you saw them on Instagram and they had a cute picture, right? Or they had a picture of a puppy. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is literally my dream. Right? It's like what happens when you go and then the coffee conversation sucks and you're like, I'm going to throw my coffee, or I just want to leave, right? You just don't know. So we tell people where they'll get in trouble is they'll invest too heavily, too soon. And then also that comes out in the interview process, right? It's all about just going. The one thing we talk about, as I see the boats going in the background in the canal behind me, you have to talk about, we always say to our people, the Jacob train has left the station, or the Jacob boat has left the pier, right? Like you guys have to understand that you have things to bring to a company. And so why I say that is so many people I watch will be like, oh my gosh, and then they become beggy, right? Off to the person, or they become desperate, compared to when you come in and you carry yourself very professionally, you dress professionally, you're having good conversations. You know what you bring to the table, but also understand that you're talking to other companies, right? These companies are talking to other candidates. So it's okay for you to carry yourself to talk to another person, right? Like, let's bring it back to dating. If you're going out and it's like, why are you out on a date with me? You're like, oh, you're the only one who said yes. They're going to be like, all right, weirdo, I shouldn't have said yes, right? Compared to, hey, what made you want to go out with me? Oh, I thought you carried yourself. I see how you act. Whatever it is, put it out there, right? But the reason is you have to be attracted to them, not just be like, oh my gosh, you're giving me my only shot. Same thing for you though, because like you bringing it back to dating, most of the times if you guys are going out on dates, you're dating multiple people and then you're seeing what you like and what you don't like. And then when you find somebody you really enjoy, you spend more time with them. And then when you guys like each other a lot, you make it exclusive to where you're like, I don't want to see anybody else. And they're like, I don't either. And be like, I would love to see where this goes. And they're like, yes, me too. Oh my gosh. And now you both agree not to see other people. Interviewing 101. You are playing the field until you have an offer letter, which is AKA is being exclusive, right? Until that offer letter is in your inbox, you are not exclusive. Because let me bring it back to, they will even tell you, hey, you're our number one choice. That's the equivalent of a guy saying to a girl, hey, you're the girl I really like, but I'm not ready to jump into a relationship. What does that mean? It means he's still seeing other women. He likes you, but he wants to still go date. All right. So if I just broke some of your hearts, I am so sorry, but this is just the way of the world. And so that's where it's bringing it back. But just thinking different when you guys are going in this interview process. What I really want to end with is just going back to what I was kind of saying earlier is just thinking you're worth it. And it goes back to what I was talking about with Ben and some of these people that we have is one of the things that he said, and it was super sweet, was he's like, man, I was interviewing for jobs and I thought I could only get 50, 60K. And you guys believed in me at New to Medical Device Sales that I could come in at over six figures. And you spoke me up and you saw my worth and you saw my value. And it is such a rewarding thing to watch happen because it like almost made me cry the moment he called me, because it's like, it's the hard work he put in, he earned it. But it's like, that's what we do. And it's so much fun. Is like, there's so many people who don't know their true value, that don't even see it and don't believe it. And that, guys, that's why I take these trips, is because, like I said, I never thought of a yacht before I was in Monaco looking at yachts or Saint-Tropez. And it's like, you're looking it up. Like one of the yachts we saw, Troy Aikman, who is a professional athlete, we saw him and I'm like, that guy looks famous. And we looked it up and it was him. But like, for example, like renting a yacht, we looked it up. The yacht's $300,000 for a week. And we're like, that's a different level. And so the reason I say that, number one, again, money's not everything. I just always say that. But what it did for me is it makes me think different, because we get stuck in these like, oh, $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year or whatever. And then it's like, man, what do they do to afford a yacht? What do they do to have a helicopter on the yacht and another thing? And it just made me start thinking different. And then you come out here and like, what I just want you guys to notice is like, when I'm in Italy and we're in Milan, right? You see Gucci, you see Louis Vuitton, you see Guess, you see all these different brands. And it's like, what the heck? And it's like, I went for a run. There's a guy named George Heaton, super cool dude. My buddy follows him. And so he was in Milan when we were out there. We went for a run together. Well, he went with a lot of groups, but I was in the front. He came up and talked to me and we talked for about 10 minutes, and it's one of those amazing things. He's 30 years old. He runs a company and it's like, he's traveling. He's based out of Manchester. He's got a place in LA now. And then they just opened, it looks like they're opening a spot in Milan. But the reason I say that is, my buddy was telling me he runs a company called Represents clothing line, but they did over $250 million in sales. And it's like, wait, what? And so it just made me start thinking different. So the reason I'm sharing that with you all, and when you hear that, you might be like, what is that? That's crazy. But this is something that I've learned. I've been in a lot of mentorships. I've been in a lot of groups, just like you guys invest in programs like we have our program. I invest in programs. I'm in entrepreneurship groups. I'm in mindset groups. I'm always trying to learn and educate myself, continuing to take sales training, all the above, just to continue to get better. And one of the biggest things is it's like, if you just start changing how you think to being like for example, instead of thinking like, I wish I could make $100,000 to how would I make $100,000? It would actually change your life, because you would actually have to start processing thinking now. That's something I actually make our students do. And the people we work with at New to Medical Device Sales, we actually will have them go and I say, hey, how would you make $200,000? And it's not just like, get a job here. It's like, no, I'm going to make you guys think outside the box. And if I said, hey, I need you to be making $200,000, and let's make life even easier. Let's say, hey, $15,000 or $20,000 a month, right? 20 grand would be $240K a year, right? So it's like, I say, hey, I want you to actually figure out what would you have to do to make that happen, right? And it's like, well, if they already have a job where they're making $6,000 a month, 72 grand a year, it's like, okay, that's great. Now we need to go make, $128,000 more. Okay, so what would we have to do? That's just over $10,000 a month extra. What would you need to be doing to make that? And like, you just have them think different. But like, what people have never done is the brain. So why I'm bringing that to you all is Same thing for you all in med device sales. You all don't get jobs at $50 to $100 to $200,000 jobs because you're not playing there. You're like, for example, every single time I've been on a podcast, and I've said this so many times, is every single time I'm like, hey, if this job was valued at $300,000 or $400,000, would you prepare way different than if it was an associate when they tell you it's 50? And every single person I've ever talked to always is like, oh yeah, I'd be way different. I'm like, and that's why you don't have the job. Because if you actually thought it was a job that's going to help you get to 300K, which it will, it's just might not be the very first one. But if you actually acted like, hey, in 2, 3, 4 years, you could be making $300,000, $400,000 or $250,000 or whatever it is, it's like you might actually take it a little different, then you'd be successful. But so many people I get on calls with, they're like, yeah, I'm networking. They don't know the companies they're talking to. They've talked to a bunch of reps. They can't recall any of the products. They can't recall any of the companies. They don't know competitors. They don't there's all these things. And it's like, they're doing the work, but they're just being busy. They're not actually working hard. Right. And it's like, that's the biggest thing is like, even on this trip, I've listened to a new book called 5 a.m. Club. And one of the biggest things is like, he's like, I work like 5 hours a day, but it's concentrated 5 hours because what most people get done that takes 2 hours of concentrated work will take them 8 to 10 hours. But if you actually just had concentrated work for 2 hours, you probably get your whole worth of days work done. And so that's something I like to think about is like so many people are just going through the motions when trying to break into med device sales. They'll hear me say, hey, network. They'll hear me say, hey, make an Excel sheet. They'll tell me, and they just go and they check boxes, check. And I get on calls with people and I can tell when they're just checking the boxes and I'm like, but have you done A, B, C, D? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, okay, so that's where we need to make the change. So I just want you all to know that like you guys are worth it. You can make $100,000, $200,000. Like, and let me just sit here and tell you for anybody who's like, oh, those days are gone. Like we literally have a coach right now. They've interviewed for positions between $300,000 and $350,000 at Plan. So the reason I'm telling you that is not to be like, oh, look how amazing that is. It's to say it's still out there. It's still possible. So anybody that's getting on a call with you and you guys are listening that's saying, oh, the days of making, $200,000+ are gone. It's like, they're really not, right? they're well out there. They're out there. You just have to be willing to put in the work. But let me make this very clear. That is not going to be your first job. You're not coming in normally at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 your first job in med device sales. It will take time to get to that spot. Why our coach is being able to do that. She's absolutely crushed it. She's a known leader in the industry. She's been able to do it in a very short amount of time. When you're able to have the impact, you show that you can do it. It can actually progress the process. And then the last thing I'm always going to just end with is don't let people tell you can't do something, right? We're here to just encourage you, tell you guys that you can, that you are able to do it. Again, if you guys have watched my journey, you guys can go back. The first podcast I ever made was like 4.5 years ago, me saying I'm a personal trainer. I want to break into med device sales, making $50K a year to being able to be having success in the industry to now make these podcasts and get to travel on vacation. And the reason I'm just sitting here telling you is don't listen to people who tell you can't do something. If you go and watch the vlog that I made, you'll see I actually went for a run in Lake Como and I actually shared that. Every time I get out to places like that, it always just reminds me that like people are going to always tell you can't. Like I still have people be like, hey, how's your little podcast doing? Or, oh, they're just downplay everything you do. Like even when I told people like, hey, I'm going to eventually just travel the world. I'm going to come to Venice, Italy. People are like, you're 25 and broke. Like, yeah, right. Good luck. Like I'm 42 and I've never done it. And I'm like, okay, right. And so the reason I'm just saying that is you can't take it personal. They're always going to say you can. And then with that as well, you're going to get on calls with people that tell you can't break into med device sales without sales experience or without clinical experience. My friends, if you listen to this podcast at all, like it's absolutely hysterical how many people will call me and say, oh, I got told I can't A, B, C, D, but you guys go and listen. And we have at this point, like 220 episodes. And like, I would say close to half of those are people in the industry without sales or clinical experience. And you guys watch it every single day. You're seeing it on our post and our podcast and stuff. But then for some reason, everybody will always do this. They bring it back to me. And when I say me, it's you. You bring it back to yourself and you're like, yeah, they did it, but I'm different, which you're not. You just all play this game that you are. And then now it's like, well, but then Jeff from whatever told me I can't, so I guess I can. And that's the encouragement I would just tell you is like, don't let others put doubts on you. Even right now, I was laughing. We have a reel going viral right now. And some guy is just saying that, like we get a lot of our nurses, our average nurse comes in at over 6 figures because they'll come in at the clinical specialist role. They have clinical experience, right? So we just said our average nurse comes in at over 6 figures and, people will see that. And we just had a reel go viral and we have a reel that's going off about nurses, but then there was also one that, I said, the average associate comes in between $50,000 and $110,000. And this guy who's been in apparently for 30 years is like, that's a bunch of crap. That's not real. I have 30 years experience. And then like multiple people said, what's not real? And he's like, that people come in at that much. And he's like, he gave a range between 50 and 110. Like, that seems pretty reasonable. And again, our average comes in at 95. But like, so there was someone, he's been in the industry. But then the reason I'm saying that is then that same guy was like, this is a bunch of crap. This is that. There's no way, whatever it is. And it's like, who cares? All of the people from his program, I'll crush and I'll kill, like I'll crush them and they won't stand a chance against me. It just makes me smile. It's the laugh I have. It's again, going back to, it's an egotistical driven world. It's like, again, that guy has probably never made $300,000-$400,000 in med device sales. So now when someone can come in, he probably doesn't even make $200,000 because again, if he's getting offended that, someone with no experience can make $100,000+, he's probably not making that much and he's getting mad about it. And then like, he'll be like, then he has to do the ego. And so the reason I'm just saying that is that's very common in every industry, not just med device sales. So you just have to understand when people are saying you can't do stuff, a lot of times it's just their limiting beliefs that they're putting on you. Now, again, I'm always here to set realistic beliefs. Don't be believing that you're going to come in at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 your first job in med device sales, or any career. Honestly, that would take time. But this is a career. If you come in and you want to put in the work, you want to actually hustle, you want to be working smarter, not harder, you want to make sure that you're making a difference. This is a career, yeah, you can make that kind of money and you can do a really good job and you can make a positive impact on others. But that's the one thing I would just continue to tell you guys is don't let others put limits on you and tell you what you can't do. Because as the kid who got told, want to be able to accomplish everything that I've been able to accomplish, like I always just tell people, I always pray about it. It's like, man's not the person who's going to tell me what I can and can't do. It's like, I pray and I'm like, God puts this on my heart and I'm going to just go chase it. And, like, I'm going to take, my feelings with God and like where he's putting the vision on my heart. Like I wrote this in my journal why I'm out here is like, everything God's put on my heart so far, I've accomplished. And it's like, I'm just so thankful. It has nothing to do with me. It's never me. It's always just coming from him. And it's like what the opportunity, but the one thing he gives me is the opportunity to go put in the work, to go do it, to go help others, to bless others, just hopefully be an encouragement to you all. So that's what I would just sit here and tell you and end with is, like, don't let man and other people put your limits on yourself or put limits on you. Like go chase it, because if it's on your heart, there's probably a good reason for it. But what I can say and what I'm going to end with is this trip has literally freed my mind up, because it's like, if you think about like, in Saint-Tropez, there's a bunch of yachts. In Monaco, there's a bunch of yachts. In, Greece, there's a bunch of yachts. Like, and I say yachts just to give you guys an idea. All of those are millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, and you don't even know who they are, and you don't know what they do. And then there's Rolex, and then there's Gucci, and the reason I'm telling you all that is think about how much money I just mentioned. There's literally money and there's opportunity everywhere in the world. You just have to be able to expand your thinking and mindset to get there, right? And if you do that, you'll be able to accomplish anything. Where we get in trouble is when we're taking ideas and we're taking advice from people who aren't there, and then they're going to tell you what you can and can't accomplish. You can break into medical device sales without sales experience. You can break into medical device sales without clinical experience. You can break into medical device sales whether you just came out of college or whether you're 42 years old and working another job. You are able to do it. The biggest thing is just learning how to play the game and how to do it the correct way. And also, so once you get into it, because you're looking at this as a career, not just a job, that you know what to do so you can actually come in, make a big impact, so you can actually go save and make a positive impact on patients' lives, so you can hit your quota, so you can actually go make the money and then go have the freedom that you're looking for. That's the big thing. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to invest in yourself first, which you guys are doing through this podcast, which I appreciate. And the thing is you guys have to keep betting on you. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for just listening. I hope this provides value. If there's any topics you would like me to go over, please list them in the comments down below. And I just want to say once again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is such a pleasure to work with each and every one of you guys. It's so much fun to see our average person breaking in medical device sales in 8.2 weeks at $94,478. If you guys are really interested in breaking in and you're wanting that mentorship, that guidance, us being able to coach you and go through the trenches with you so you guys can get the jobs, and not only get the job, but know how to do the job once you're in the job, and also being able to do like negotiations so you guys get higher contracts and all that, click the link below. Always happy to schedule a call. The last thing I always just tell you guys on that is don't want a dollar from you, don't need a dollar from you. That's why we put out over 200 free episodes out here. But the thing I will sit here and tell you is the difference between rich people and poor people is poor people will never spend $1,000 because it's too much money. A rich person will happily spend $10,000 to make $10,000. Once you guys start changing your mindset from being poor to rich, you have to invest in yourself to financially get places compared to everyone thinks they can try to do it on their own. And then like my whole thing is, okay, say you get in, what do you do then? Oh, I don't know, I'll figure it out. Okay, well, you're going to go figure it out while we have people that already know what to do and then they go crush, right? So it's like all you're doing is just trying to figure it out. And that's the last thing I'll have you think about is just think about all the millionaires. Why do they have private jets and all the stuff? Because they know the only thing they can't get back is time. They can go make more money, they can do all the stuff, but they know they can't get back time, right? And so that's where I just want you guys all to start changing your mindset. It's why you're doing these podcasts is just start thinking higher and thinking leveling up, because it can be scary, but what keeps everybody stuck is the emotional side of their brain. If you actually just take the critical thinking brain, like for example, when people are looking at our stuff, it's like, hey, do we believe this works? Yes, because there's all the proof of it. And we have hundreds of testimonial videos you guys can see on the website. And it's like, hey, do I believe I'll get the results? Yes. Okay, great. Do I believe that I'll put in the work? Yes. Okay, great. But then what happens is then it's like, but it's money, it's whatever, and then scared and the emotional side. So the critical thinking will be like, yep, it works. But what most people never get over in their life is the emotional side, and it's why they can never progress in life. And it's why they stay stuck, and it's why they stay broke, and it's why they stay in their places that they want, relationships they're not happy with, because they let the emotional side take it instead of just the critical thinking brain. So if you can, press the like and subscribe button. A 5-star review helps us grow this channel. If you can send this to somebody you feel like it would be helpful for, it would mean the world to me. And again, guys, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. So excited to watch you each and all get into medical device sales. If you want to, would love to connect with you on LinkedIn at Jacob McLaughlin or New Medical Device Sales. And I'm so excited to talk to y'all soon. See you on the next one. Peace.